Coming into the trading day, you had absolute movement towards new highs. Now, this is where things started to get tricky, specifically when it comes to SPY and the overall futures market. When we go specifically around what caused the downside, it all comes around Pelosi. Pelosi decided it was a good idea to still go to Taiwan and to really back the threats going on from the Chinese. And thank God, because all they did was do more of their usual everyday in Taiwan military operations, trying their scare tactics. Now, should we be provoking other countries? Probably not, specifically when the Ukraine thing just happened and is currently still happening. However, the US doesn't really care apparently. So let's see what happens. Going on from this, the only bad thing to happen was CATL Holdings off of the North American plant announcement. Now, if you don't know, this was pretty big because all of those are currently in overseas territories right now. This would really have helped their overall production for companies like Apple, Tesla, and QQQ, which directly were affected right when this news was announced. So are we seeing a trade war part 2? It's kind of hard to say, and it's really early to say. However, China had a lot to say throughout the day regarding. Now, before we go any further, I need you to consider doing 2 things, liking and subscribing, because every single day I'm giving you the videos you want, going over the stocks you are trading and exactly what is happening news-wise, so you are never taken by surprise. This is always unbiased, and it's exactly what I am looking at when it comes to the market every single day. Let's get back to the video regarding this specific instance. But before that news was dropped, it's really important to mention that you were seeing constant upside. That's all you were seeing. You were seeing that movement towards the upside all the way into lunch, and then you started to get the negative retracement going on there. And when we really look at Nasdaq, you can kind of get a better example here, and you can really see how you were moving up right there. After that, you did get some downside. When you look at SPY, it's going to look a little bit more bearish in my opinion, but looking at NQ gives you a better example of the market as a whole. Now, I want to highlight a few areas before we even go further, because in my opinion, you have to be watching these, and we also have some earnings we need to talk about. So I'm going to go to the 4-hour time frame and give you a full screen perspective. Now, what I'm looking at is the $13,000 level, which continues to be our resistance as of right now, and then the 12.8 level. Now, I was talking with Jay Ream today, and we were discussing this specifically. The 12.8 level is your April lows. You can also see that right here. That's your lows that you established in April, and then from there, you made new lows going into May. But the new lows in May were established much further down, roughly down at 11.4, 11.5 overall, which we do know is a major support as well. But now you're trying to hold that 12.8. So as we go back into a much smaller time scale going in here, you can see how we are really respecting that range. You continue to hold, and actually make higher lows throughout the process. So these are a few things that I am watching right now, and it appears that you're trending in this channel as we speak, with the occasional pop above the 13K marker. Every time you get above 13K though, it seems like negative news swarms. I'm just saying, think about it, take a step back, and look every time you break above 13K. Now, when we go over to SPY, things look a little bit more clear. The clear channel that I have is this right here, basically from 409, and this is the same level we mentioned yesterday, right around that monthly that was established on Monday, and then the highs of around 413, continuing to bounce back and forth, back and forth. The only thing I don't like is that you're breaking a little bit lower down to about 407, 407.5, and then you come back into this range. I really like the bottom of this level to be around the monthly, but if you had to, you could also make it right there roughly at 407.5, because it is also the lows that you established right there as well. However, I still like the monthly. It's a major level for me, and you're also respecting it time and time again. So that's my key area, and that's the area that I'm watching specifically when it comes to trading. Now in Discord, I told everyone from the beginning of the day, today is one of the worst days to trade. I told you yesterday here on the channel that I expected overall chop, and I didn't expect a clear movement to be decided until after AMD's earnings, which we're going to get into here in a second. Now, the only trade I ended up taking on the day for transparency's sake is Amazon. I ended up taking that at about 158 for the calls at 136, and ended up closing those for a loss at around 153. So a very minuscule loss, but I always like to stay transparent with you. But the only reason why I even took Amazon was because at the end of the day, I expected some volume to kick into the market going into some of these bigger earnings that we had. Once you lost the support level right here, it was just for me a no trade. I ended up getting out of it and ended up dipping even more. So ultimately, I saved money on that trade, which in my opinion is a win for myself. Going back to the market though, it's just for me not an opportunity to trade here. I'm waiting for a clear-cut decision. And for me, that comes all the way back to NQ. So if I'm looking at anything, I'm watching the Nasdaq and I'm waiting for it to either establish above 13,000 and hold there on a larger time frame, like the 1 hour, for instance, or if you're going to hold below the 12.8 level. Wherever you start to establish your trend, that's where I see us moving in that direction. So in between here, it's going to be a lot of chop and you're not going to get a clear-cut direction. I see a lot of people commenting on these videos saying, Tyler, you're saying we can go both ways. Well, spoiler alert, that's the way the stock market is designed and that's the way that it works. Buyers can step in at any time and sellers can step in at any time. And if anyone tells you that they know when X person is going to step in, then they're probably lying to you and they're trying to sell you something. But I'm telling you the God's honest truth. This is what I'm doing and this is how I plan on trading this. I'm going to let this trend play out. Yes, I may look for trading opportunities in between this trend, but you're not looking for a key level breakout. For instance, if you break and hold above 13, where's our target? It remains at this 13.6, 13.5 level up here. So I want to keep saying this overall. If you break out of this level and you hold in a larger time frame, either a daily close, a 1 hour close, something like that, you are looking for upside. The other key thing we need to really focus on, I don't know if I mentioned it yet, is every time you're getting above this 13,000 marker, bad news seems to swarm. It was the new plant from China being delayed. And then over here, we had more bad news coming out overall as well. So you need to just be paying attention to key news being released because every time we get this nice breakout, it seems like bad news swarms the market. So these are things that I'm watching for specifically, and I'm paying close attention to the Nasdaq over S&P futures because the Nasdaq, in my opinion, is leading the market right now. Again, so if I'm looking at this, what am I doing? If we break below 12.8, most likely we're probably coming down back to this 12.5, 12.4 region, and I'll just trade it back down to this level, the same level we've been testing time and time again. So that's what we're looking for. In this range, there's no clear direction. Why? Because we have not been established yet. Now, what I will say is as we go into some of these earnings, such as PayPal, they just announced pretty decent earnings. They're actually smashing it right now. They get to about highs of 101, 102. They also have big buyers stepping in and key investors. They also did a $15 billion buyback. They did beat, but they lowered guidance, which could hurt them. Going into AMD, they had a small beat, but they overall adjusted their outlook for Q3. That wasn't that good. And so you're seeing kind of some downward movement. Now, what did I tell you yesterday, though? We were targeting the $100 range, and I said these are probably getting the money. Guess what? They did. You could have gotten those any point during the day, and you would have made money. Jay Ream, he's been calling this one out for over a week. What did he do? What was going on in Discord? He ended up closing his position completely. He got in, and these were for next week, I believe, and they're the 100s. They went to 5.4, 140% on that swing trade. Congratulations to the boys there. So that's what's going on, and that's how we're looking at the market. Now, again, I want to highlight something to you specifically before I go any further. You do not need to be trading every single day. What did I say way back when? About a week ago, there was a few things we were looking at. The biggest thing was when we broke out of the key level of 12.25. Remember when we started getting that breakout above these regions here? We started talking about key levels we were watching and where we wanted to see us going and the retracements we were also getting. This is where we've made all of our money over the past week. Ask Discord, ask down in the comments, ask people that have been watching the videos. We made our money on this uptrend. But now you're at another key level and you're trying to make a decision. When you get into areas where you're consolidating, such as this, so you're sitting in an area like this isn't where you're going to make your big money. Where you're going to make your money is when you break out like this and you can establish that trend towards the upside. That's why we look at something like Microsoft. Look at the past, week and a half that you had just straight up. We made a killing on that one. NVDA made another killing on this one once you broke out of the trend. That's where you're going to make your money. When you're trading this sideways action like this, that's not the money-making opportunity, okay? This is not where you make your money. I want to make it very, very clear, because some people are going to be over trading zones like this, like that. That's not the money making opportunity. Once again, right here, this is not the money making opportunity. Where do we make our money? It was on the breakouts. That's where we were making money here on these trades. So that's what I encourage people to do, is wait for the stagnation to get over with. Once you break out of these key channels, then you trade it following the trend. The same thing goes for S&P. As we're looking here, look at the trend. You're starting to break down underneath this, but I believe right now you're going to need key news. You're going to need some type of data to want to push you down, because overall GDP data that they are giving us right now is positive, and they continue to push this. We are not in a recession narrative. Now, do I believe that? Not necessarily. However, we have to take what the market is giving us, and we do not want to overtrade. But again, I want to highlight that you can bring this down a little bit further. And I know I hate having ranges this big. It's just uncomfortable. I hate it so much. But you can still see you have not really made a new low establishing here yet, except this morning, which you were quickly bought back through. It's also worth mentioning when you look at overall volume, you're seeing a lot of the volume kicking in with the buyers, with the exception of the end of the day today. But if you go back to something like Thinkorswim, it's showing you that a lot of these bigger candles you're seeing throughout the day, for instance, beginning of the day, declining volume on that dip, and then buyers stepped back in here, pushing you higher. Declining volume once again here. You're seeing a little bit of buyers stepping in here, and it's a lot easier to see when we're on Thinkorswim as well. But looking at this overall, you're not seeing a large amount of volume kicking in when the sellers start to push you in. And I want to highlight something very specific going on. If we go back to around the 1 to 4 hour chart, look at past breakdowns. I'm going to continue to highlight these key areas. This is a great, for instance, as well. What I'm going to do is get rid of volume really quick and the opens indicator. And I'm just going to show you key levels that we were previously trading at. This right here looks an awful lot like the same pattern you were forming back here on May 25th through around June 7th. And look what happened. You're breaking down. But what was the key indicator here? You broke down. You got your opportunity. In the next 3 days, you went to the pits. So looking here, I still don't believe you broke down, and I still think you have a little bit more time to get your decision to the up or to the downside. So there's no reason to be focusing here. But look what happens when sellers really do, in fact, step in, because people are trying to say sellers are stepping in right now. I highlight this in almost every video. You see how much downside really starts to come when sellers step in? A massive amount of downside. Sellers are not stepping in here, or at least I'm not trading it because it is not proven yet. When we go back here, you can see a massive amount of sellers are pushing you down in the market with it. So what am I looking at on the market? What looks good to me? What looks strong? Tesla, I want to mention this going into today and how it moved. Now, specifically, I was wrong on this one. You did get some downside, but you did not hit my overall targets. You got very close, but not all the way there. You ended up dropping on the day down to 877, about $5 away from the beginning of that target range down there. And then you remounted that key level of 900. If Tesla can stay above the $900 level, it continues to look bullish. So as long as it stays above this, you have to expect upside towards 940. That's my range there, and it does look pretty interesting. Me and Jay were just talking about this on the after hours, and I want to highlight just how good this chart does look. This is Microsoft, and if we can start getting some of that buying pressure, look at the overall formation here. Look at this bull flag that you are now pressing into, and look where it's at right now. There's two key levels here at Microsoft. You have your previous highs here and your key range right here as well at 268. So I am looking and watching these pretty heavily. 268, in my opinion, will be a buying opportunity unless massive amount of sellers start to step in. And in that case, I'll probably end up going short in the market on something like SPY or QQQ. But until then, I am looking at Microsoft to start pushing out of this level. If it starts to make higher highs out of this region, I'm going to start looking more bullishly at this chart, and we're going to be looking for a key range break up towards 290, 295. That's what I'd be looking at here. You have some key gaps right here, 296, and you have a gap here at 310 roughly. So keep this one definitely on your radar. Another stock I have to mention, probably the last stock I will mention, will be Meta. Facebook has been one of the more interesting plays here overall, and I want to highlight just really what's happening here. Now, there's a few key ranges you have to watch, the bottom specifically. If you start to break and make a new low below 154. So I would automatically go to your chart, highlight that level. If you break this level and make a new low, from that point, it becomes a shorting opportunity down to 142, conservatively 144. However, if you remain strong, you need to be looking at key bullet points and something that we've been talking about a lot in Discord. If you're going short, you have to look at your previous lows or your current lows right now. And that's 154. So if you're looking even at a weak stock like Meta, your downside opportunity, where is it to? It's going to be down to with 154. So if I'm going short, there's about $5 of downside. However, if I'm going long, just on the shorter term aspect, we can look at that gap right there to 168. And that would be your ultimate upside minimum right now at 168. So you already have a double risk to reward towards that upside of about $8. Now, I'm not telling you to look at the market bullishly, but I'm telling you to look at the market from a risk to reward standpoint. That is all I'm saying. So as long as you're staying above this level, about 157 on Meta, I have to anticipate you're going to start seeing some buyers step in as the market starts to progress. But the key levels that I'm watching here is how are we going to respond on Nasdaq? Can Nasdaq finally get back above 13,000 and hold that range? If it starts to hold, we look at the market in a bullish sense. If it does not hold, then we look at it in a what? We look at it in a bearish sense. So again, if you break below 12.8, you're looking very bearish. If you break above 13, you're looking very bullish. In between this range right here, you expect up and down chop movement. And whenever you get to the top of the zone, you look for shorts. And whenever you get to the bottom of the zone, you are looking for longs. That's how you have to trade this range right now. But again, if you're looking for a confirmed breakout, you want to start trading the trend to the most profits you can make, you wait until you break out. And currently right now, I'm just sitting on my hands. I'm just waiting. Over the past 2 weeks, I've made an absolute killing on the market. We've had monstrous trades, and there is no reason to start giving up profits and getting greedy in this specific range, at least until we get some news or something we can start basing this movement off of. I'm just saying, because all the news that they're giving us right now, except China, seems to be relatively strong. I'm not being biased. I'm just basing it on the facts in which we are given every single day. Before I let you out of here, we're going to look at Bookmap really quick, and we're going to look at the overall price action that we've been given. Now, looking here at Bookmap, I want to mention something on the day. Now, first, we will go over the iceberg orders and the overall dark pool type of data that we had coming in here. Now, you can see prior to power hour, you had a lot of selling here. At about 1:45 through almost 2 o'clock, you saw nothing but downside sell orders kicking in. And then going into power hour, what happened? You saw more slippage, more dip coming in here. At the end of the day, you saw some buying kicking in finally, which probably was preparing for those earnings that did come out. Now, what I will mention here was the biggest eye-opener thing that I was watching all day. It was your CVD, and I mentioned this a few times in Discord, and it was something that I didn't like, was you were pushing up on SPY and on the ES, but your CVD was chopping back and forth, which usually leads to unpredictable price action from how I've looked at the market. And then ultimately it led to that unpredictable up, down, and we don't like trading that. Going over here as well, we can just see, in my opinion, that you're just not getting a clear direction, right? So when you really zoom out here, you can just see the overall trend you're forming. You have not made new lows and you haven't made new highs yet, so you're just waiting for the market to pick a direction. I want to be very clear about that. Be patient, people. Let the trades come to you. Do not start forcing trades. That is how you lose money.